And you're right. I'm wrong. I don't know about race cars.
Hey, welcome to Turn 4 Talks. I'm Nate. This is Pops, as always.
What's happening?
We're so happy to have you here. We're going to jump into a big old weekend of racing at Martinsville. Wonderful place for this great land of hot dogs. And see how it goes.
Sounds awesome, man. I'm ready to dig in.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think despite this main content being about the hot dog land of Martinsville, we should still skip and talk about a big racing topic right now is the Cars Tour event with Doug Barnes and Minnie Tyrell. We've been very critical of Minnie all year, and I will give my personal spiel before I stick it over to you, but I think that was a wild ride, and it just proves, in my opinion, that he might have speed, but there's no skill and talent. He just drove right through him, and there was 70 plus laps to go. I think the kid just needs to learn. I think he has to get there. Everyone wants to harp on like Hocevar because he tries to drive his way through people like Chastain a few years ago, but the one chance Minnie has to win a race in a short attention span here is just baffling that it ends that way.
I,
But
I think for what the Cause Tour is, I don't know how Junior and Kevin and Barton and even Marks are looking at that, because that series built on, you got a fast car, you wear someone down till they loosen up. This year already has been a little bit of a bumper pool. I mean, even Bonds and Caden earlier in the first race, there was some blood out there, but wow, crazy, man. He had a fast car. I feel like he should have waited a little bit. I mean,
yeah, I mean, and I will say, yeah, this is just speculating, as we were talking that eventually Dodge and slash colleague is going to have to make a decision on his seat and what to do with him. But clearly, with the Daniel Dye stuff and the resignation officially, um, I think they have one too many seats to be open to be worried about right now. So he's probably safe for the season, but I genuinely don't think he comes back, especially if he keeps making moves like that when he's got a winning car. So that's all I'll say.
Chris Rice loves the guy. It just seems like that to me. I mean, oh, Minnie Terrell, screaming in the, race for the seat. But, not sure a bunch of you guys even checked it out. Wake County, man, what a great looking speedway. Put it on my list to get out there and check that one out. But the car store, um, he had a good run going there. Him and Bonds worked his way up there. So did Minnie. I mean, Minnie, he started up front, but no patience, man, no patience. And then it comes down to the suspension now for Bonds, for the retaliation. But the way, the way he went through the 44 to get back to Bonds, it looked like a little retribution there myself. So, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, and I mean, unless you had anything else to say, I think a great pivot point is talking about Barnes had a interesting year last year. It wasn't his best year driving for Lee Podium, which drives us right into Martinsville. You know, I think Junior has such an eye for talent, and he's always said that he's not Santa Claus giving out rides to people. He's not here to just give the guys who he all thinks is the right thing, but he has a track record for giving people a chance who genuinely deserve it. And yeah, Lee definitely in the O'Reilly race missed a few shifts, caused the big one there at Martinsville, and had a few choice words and trying to be a friend to him on the radio the whole time. But I think there's just such a sense of watching that guy and just seeing him dominate literally against 30 plus other drivers who do this week in and week out and go into this track and just being up front. And I mean, if some of those cautions didn't come out, you'd think he might have had a chance. And again, it's always coulda, shoulda, woulda. But man, Lee Pulliam was the real deal.
The JRM cars were just dominating that race at the beginning. There was 5 cars up front, 4 were his, and you had the 17 a day who's, I know we touched on him earlier, but he's starting to gel a little bit. He's starting to hone his crafts too. But
Day is definitely trying to finally get some rhythm. I'd say he had a good day. I all in all, it's proven that those JRM cars are fast, and you feel bad for Quapple, who had a great car all day and was going to run well points wise, and ended up getting taken out in that. But you can't fault Lee. I mean, all things considered, he just definitely wasn't hitting those shifts off the restarts, and probably, if anything, if the race ran green and there was no stage breaks or anything like that, you really see that kind of guy dominate and maybe have a chance to win this race. So
Yeah, also, like the Hall of Fame Allgaier, man, he is on his way to definitely some greatness there this year. I'm telling you, it was good to see.
I think my favorite thing I've heard was they were talking about him last week on MRN on the radio, and they talked about how he ages like fine wine. And I have to say that is nothing but true. He has come to dominate through this year, and he's really showing that everyone who has all these talks about him on the retirement tour, I think if he keeps winning this way, there's no way he goes out because, he's been there for every race. He's consistent. He's amazing, and he's just giving those kind of drives that you really want to see. And there's no shame in being a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah, he puts a clinic on sometimes for these guys the way he gets around. I mean, which is impressive. I really, really do. Restarts on the outside, inside. I mean, he definitely has a craft. And again, he's got a good car behind him, good team.
Yeah, and I definitely will say that I don't think the Hendrick Motorsports double duty is hindering him. If anything, I'm curious how much that's helping Allgaier. Obviously, he's getting sim time in the Hendrick cars with their sims. He's getting, yeah, two competition meetings a week might wear on him. And he mentioned kind of in the post race after Darlington how it's a lot to juggle. But you almost wonder if being in the second building there too is really giving him some insight and some extra knowledge. And of course, he's a veteran driver who gets through and gets around well. But maybe just having that little bit of inside knowledge and some other people to talk to with some different ears really
No,
maybe helping him out.
definitely well said. And hat tip to Creed too, man. I mean, he gets around that track as well, man. He looked good in that double zero towards the end as well.
Yeah, I mean the Haas cars in the O'Reilly series compared to the performance in the Cup series is definitely night and day. But the two cars they have going there, especially that switch to Chevy, is just nothing but to help them. I mean, those RCR cars run quick. I mean, Austin Hill and Jesse Love were both up there to an extent all day. It's looking like the Chevys are fast this year. Obviously, there's little to no Fords, but the Toyotas haven't found it, and it's right place, right time with a lot of these guys.
Speaking of love, man, props to him and Raja, like two grown men after that incident, like in the garage area. They went to each other. They pulled off to the side. They were having a conversation, but it was pretty solid, man. That's signs of professionalism right there. As bad as that getting knocked around was, I mean.
And you could tell, like, Raja clearly wasn't happy. Like, there was a point in that interview where Love tries to give him a handshake and be like, all right, we good? And Raja just literally withsold it and says, no, no, man, come on. What are we doing here? But at the end of the day, I mean, they did both kind of half bro hug it out and walk away. I don't think it eases all the feelings or the tensions on everything. But I really think that they both showed that that's classy driving. You might not be happy with somebody at the end of the day, but you walk away and at least you heard the other guy out like a true professional.
Yeah, I mean, we even that was impressive. We had Baldwin get in there, which was not heard much of him, but he was there, so that was his first start. I know a lot of that action was up front with Pullman in the nine, but and I know I mentioned him last week, but Parker Resloff, man, he is on a mission this year. Kind of got him watching again.
Yeah, I think there's a good chunk of these younger drivers who are coming up are really showing a lot of talent. There's not probably too many seats maybe in the Cup Series to, in theory, be kind of working your way towards just yet. But I don't think that means they need to slow down. I mean, you prove yourself enough, you can earn one of those spots, and that's a big telltale sign if you can just dominate your way through and make a name for yourself in these lower series.
And those guys fought the weather like crazy. It was like 90 degrees on Friday, and that rain came in, and it was down to 35 at night. I mean, they were, to the fans. We were there last October. We know it's cold, but crazy, man, to see some of what, that has a lot of effects on stuff as well.
Yeah, that's definitely. And we were just talking about sportsmanship. And unless you have anything else for the O'Reilly series, I think that's a great transition over with Bubba and, Caution Hocevar. Because they. What the hell, Bubba? Like,
Yeah, really crazy. He got a pass from NASCAR on that one in a small way. I hear a lot of people, the vibe is like, why aren't you fighting him? I mean, why aren't you finding him? Why isn't he? But, and then his comment was, it just blew my away that he just drove through there like that. As they said, he just drove through him. He drove through him. And it hurt him and his own teammate. With only two cars not to roll away from that accident.
yeah.
So,
I mean, comparably, you look at that big mess of a parking lot with the O'Reilly series with Lee Pulliam missing the shift. But that's a very different comparison to Bubba Wallace wrecking Hocevar right off the restart and taking out half of the field. One you can kind of give the benefit of the doubt to. The other one you kind of start to sit here and go, what was that? Especially, I mean, at Martinsville, if in Bubba's case too, if you have a superior car and you think you can really reel this guy in like a fish, then why do it right off the restart? You know what you're doing. You know it's two packed. Just get a few laps in, even if you want. Just get behind him, and just send him up. Just give him a good old bump and run. But that was amateur hour, and I won't harp on Bubba. I mean, I think he's a really great driver in the sense
we all have
that
bad days, right?
yeah. Wait, I don't think he's gonna. He doesn't do this every week, and I think he has more talent than half the internet will give him credit for.
Respect.
But I don't think that was the right move and the time and place.
I think at the end of the day, the points, he's paying the price in points. I mean, he slid down like a brick, which that's got to really hurt. I mean, it really does. The Hocevar thing, people just pounding on that dude. Some of the things he self-proclaimed who he is, not that I'm a hater, but he wasn't my favorite. But there's some things I like about that kid. But he's entertaining, I guess. You got to say he's entertaining. So you got to appreciate the entertainment value.
I mean, he's got such personality, and he really genuinely, despite not wanting to be friends with folks on the track or just despite not making friends on track, he is really great for the sport. And it's one of those things, too, where having somebody to root against, I mean, in the sense of like the WWE and wrestling, you want somebody who's going to be the heel and somebody you're going to root against and somebody who makes you frustrated and you go, oh, screw this guy. And, Chastain kind of reeled that back a little with the last few years and has been a little more quiet. He still had his moments, but it's really a great thing in the sport when you have somebody who can bring so much energy that you can hate on somebody.
Part of that is, last year you're trying to balance like what's going on with Chastain. And now the Burgermeister went out there and knocked down LM road course wins, so you're kind of like, oh, they got no performance problems, but you're kind of this year like making you wonder like what's happening, man. And even just to hear Connor Zilich's comments, man, he was like, this car's got no power. It's got no speed. He was very unsatisfied young man.
They're reminiscent of the Ganassi shell that they are. And I mean, good for a win or two here and there, but you look back to the Kyle Larson Ganassi days, and it's very much reminding me of that. And then, I mean, even considering everything, SVG still wheeled the car to 11th.
Props. He qualified well too, man. I mean, we saw him last year. Like he figured out how to diamond that track. I know he looked really impressive He was giving the leaders a hard time last year, but throughout that race, if you go back and watch, he figured Martinsville out a little bit. He's going to be dangerous one day.
Oh yeah. And speaking of the leader group, I think one of the biggest chatting points, obviously, is Chase Elliott finally getting that win this year to start the year off strong. He's been consistent in points through the whole time through, but I don't buy any of the hubbub with the thrown caution because NASCAR was trying to give Chase a win. I think that's just a slap in the face kind of headache, and you're like, what are we talking about here?
The cautions were weird, and they complain about the cautions. Oh, before the first caution, there was a caution within 3 laps. By the time the commercials ended, then they had 3 laps, and then they went back to commercials because it was the end of the stage, which people were hollering about. There was a brake rotor on the track. You saw it. It is what it is. Obviously Bubba and those. That was the other caution, but that could have worked out and it couldn't have worked out. I think. What are your feelings on that? You think it was just a call like, yo, we're just gonna salvage his point stay? Did they think like had it a solid that was gonna come into a win? I mean, that car got out front; it was clean, but
I think my biggest outlook is a lot of people are complaining because the brake rotor was visible on pit road near the wall. But I think, if anything, and you want to think about it logically, is during a green flag run, you can't, in a safety aspect, just send a crewman over or a like official to go run and grab that, especially during pit cycles. I know like Chase was literally running those tires long and was going to have to pit sooner than later. And it's Murphy's Law. If you finally send a guy over to go grab this brake rotor, and all of a sudden you have a car barreling in at 40 something miles an hour, it could be a recipe for disaster. And I won't just be a Chase fan and sit here and say, like, oh, it should have been that way. But the truth is that I can understand NASCAR's logic of not wanting to put somebody physically at risk as a human being, and it worked in Chase's favor. But we're not at the days of the Dale Jr. cautions anymore. So I mean, what are you gonna get at here?
I started this year giving NASCAR an A, and I figured let them work their grade down. But I think they're still doing an A. I think they've been doing really well with a lot of this stuff. They've been putting on good shows. I give them an A for this, pushing this big horsepower package. I mean, it's impressive. It really was. I know Darlington, you saw it come up there. It's racing. Let the guys go out there and do what the guys do. You know what I'm saying? My favorite driver beat your favorite driver. We heard it all before, but we can say it this week.
And I mean, that brings us to Denny, who he had a great car all day. And I mean, all things considered, and as I always say, coulda, shoulda, woulda, you know, he could have been the winner. He really, if he had unchallenged and didn't get beat on strategy, but it's just pure racing. I mean,
Radio chatter, he felt he had a loose wheel, so that you can't drive the car as hard you can. Hey, he was upset with Chastain for staying out. That's Chastain's thing to do, man. If he was gonna try like Chase did, he was gonna stay out there and try to stretch it and make his own. That's what NASCAR's about. So you can't get by him. He raced you hard. Oh, what's he doing out there? He's a race car driver. That's his full blown right. Right?
exactly. And I mean, it clearly showed in a sense that right before the caution, Chase was clearly getting ran through by 10 lap cars in a row. When you look and see that gap between him and Denny, and there's 10 cars in the way, and all of a sudden Denny's immediately passing him. I think it shows that Denny had a fast car, but you start to say that, like, hey, that's racing. It's just the way things work out. And it's not like Chase had some gimme win either, if you want to argue that they threw a BS caution, because he had to equally start on the restart up next to Denny. Yeah, he might have the front row, but you still doesn't mean he had an easy front to the whole race.
Yeah, but you had the masses going, oh, when Denny was leading, they were fighting him so hard, and they were no stage one, stage two. You got the leader coming. You're gonna fight to stay on that lead lap, man. You're gonna fight. You're gonna fight. You're gonna fight. Yo, you're within 70 to go, and your strategy isn't working, and you're 2 laps down. Are you going to be that guy and get in their way? No, of course you're going to pull over. So there was a little wah to that too. So fans, man, you got to love the sport and you got to see the big picture. Is my feeling on that one.
Yeah. Anyone else really stick out to you over the weekend, or anything impressive for you? Or
Well, Blaney had a rocket. You just see he got stuffed in the wall. You know, Denny said it himself. It was unnecessary, but again, I would have really curious to see that 12 car. I mean, again, after last year's performance, I thought he'd roll back up into the field. Joey came back. So last week you were all talking RFK, and then all of a sudden the Penske's guy showed up this week. So even Josh had good run going on, Cindric. So it's a good track. There's no doubt about it.
yeah, I think that's a big thing too, especially with the Ford guys. Is both teams and all the four teams kind of have their different strengths of where they're better and where they're not. Obviously, Darlington's a great track for Roush Fenway and then Keselowski. And it's just, it's a long gone game here. Or we're going to have to see how everyone plays out. And yeah, Joey might not be having the best season, but, or for example, but I mean, he's not nowhere to be found. And then alternatively, the 12 car with Blaney is sitting up front. I mean, not leading the points, but he's in contention. And if the season continues on this way, I wouldn't be surprised to see him towards those last few races having a small chance.
He's definitely a contender, and you can see those guys rising. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Denny didn't really give up much points in that race, even though he did. He led the stages and finished second. He had a good points day. Still beat Chase. Had the fastest lap, which he keeps nabbing that point a lot lately too. So I'm just wondering how many 1-2 finishes we're going to see between him and Chase this year, man. That's the second one already. So
Yeah, I think another impressive team, and it might not show immediately on paper, at least during each race, but it's interesting to see William Byron creeping up in the point standings there. He's had a very quiet year, but quiet doesn't mean bad in this case. He's sitting right there, top five in points. He's got just waiting for a couple good breaks. I think, minus Reddick winning it a lot. I think there's a lot of parity in the field this year, and we're going to see a lot of fluctuation in who's where and who can put up consistent, non-stop performances. Even just finishing top five is going to make or break people's season here.
he was one of the cars that passed Denny. I mean, early in the race. He got under Denny. He drove by him. I mean, it was 20 laps later. Denny ran him back down and passed him. But, that shows at least there's some speed in that car. You give him that,
Yeah.
for sure. On the other end, though, I know people in the media out there is just tearing up Kyle Busch. Like, what is going on with this guy? I mean, what are your feelings on that? Like, is it team? Is it driver? The man's talented.
I am in the camp that there's no way he stays with RCR after the season. I genuinely don't know where he goes, and that's a whole podcast worth conversation on its own.
Yeah, they're out there.
To find him a seat and to where he could go and be equally, if not more competitive, it's a short list. But where I'm at is I think that they're not giving him the cars, and he also is probably experiencing some. I mean, we've seen it with how many guys, including like your Jimmy Johnsons, Darrell Waltrip. I mean, a lot of drivers really fall off at the end of their career. I just don't think. I mean, the way he drove at Atlanta with Hostvar pushing him in the Truck Series, I just don't think it's time to write him off yet. I just don't think that the team is doing him right.
It's equipment. These new cars are just a little baffling to him too. I think so a little bit. I mean, your dreams are your dreams. You follow them. Just do it. Just do it. No, I give him props, man. You see the frustration when he punted that tire on pit row. He saw it rolling. He was like, "Fuck." You know, he was just like, why am I going to slow down? All the penalties are coming anyway. He just punched it, but that thing was ricochet rabbit on that pit row.
Yeah, I think he's definitely starting to get frustrated. I always say that angry Kyle Busch is the best Kyle Busch on track, but there comes a point of he's at least got to have the car to do it, and you just wonder how long he wants to stick in this situation. I think he might be one of the first drivers in a long time who are a big name that leave a ride before the end of the year. And again, we'll see where that plays out, but he's definitely having a tough pull of this string cheese here. So
Man, I know. Our boy Chase gets to be a winner for 2 weeks because they're off this weekend. So, but you get curious that you went to that short, flat half mile. Now you're going to that world's fastest half mile bank track. So, curious to see how that rolls, man.
yeah, and I think mentioning going forward with this week being an off week for the Cup Series, but Rockingham coming for the O'Reilly and trucks. It'll be fun to see how Cletus actually runs in that first week with RCR here. I don't think he needs to win to improve or impress anyone. I just also think that that's going to be a big question mark. If he's going to really prove a lot of people right or wrong this week. If he can bring the car home in the solid top 15, top 20 and not cause any big wrecks or anything, I think it's going to shut up a lot of the haters. And if he ends up dumping himself or somebody else early in the race or even during the race at any point, I think it's going to just feed the criticism and only time will tell. But that's pretty much what I'm looking forward to looking for this weekend.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. I mean, I know Corey landing that seat with Daniel Dye being reinstated and then going and you know
Resigning.
resigning. Was that a graceful way of getting out of there, or I don't know.
No, that's definitely the you're either gonna resign or we're gonna fire you, and one's gonna look better in your case. So take your poison. Um, I want to say
Yeah,
poor Dye, but he did it himself, and it'd be interesting seeing Corey, Mister. Don't want to sit in front of 2,000 fans and win on a Friday night. Take a full time truck ride. But hey,
good for him, man. I'm curious. AJ in the 16, so that should be fun too. Uh, so it's going to be an exciting year. Oh, the 25, right?
yeah,
He's,
25.
my apologies. It's the other way around. We got Butterbean McQueen's in the 16, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I mean, all in all, any last final closing topics or?
Man, enjoy your Easter holiday weekend with your family. Get some racing in. We'll still do you a nice update next week on the trucks and the
O'Reilly series.
O'Reilly series and a little cup preview. So come check us out, man.
Well, thanks for tuning in, friends, and hope you all have an amazing weekend, as my father just mentioned. It's going to be some good racing, and enjoy the time you can.
Yeah, man. Smash that like, man. Smash that subscribe. We love having you viewers out there. Thank you so much for being part of our broadcast, and love you very much. And check us out on our social media pages, man. Send us some questions and comments if things we say. Nothing too crazy, but peace.
I've done nothing wrong, and I will not tolerate it.